Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Lucha Underground review, the first half of the Wednesday Night Wars. And you know, Lucha Underground, to keep up with the war kind of metaphor, is a freaking battalion, man. I mean, they got the tanks, they got everything, because once again, an absolute quality episode of this show. Very intrigued by some of the storylines that were furthered, and hell, I think we even had one storyline created tonight. Some interesting matchups, and just overall, we focused a lot on Backstage too. I thought Dario Cueto was featured quite prominently in tonight's episode. So overall, there was so much that happened that I was really a fan of. But Ashton, what'd you think of it, man?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. This was a really, really fun episode. I think at the end of the day, the Wednesday Night War has kind of boiled down to, is there an NXT live special happening? If yes, I'm looking more forward to NXT. If no, I'm looking more forward to Lucha Underground.
Right.
That's really what it is. Because, I love NXT, and I'm not trying to take anything away from it, but Lucha Underground has just so consistently been the best show of the two, with the exception of NXT live specials, and even that has only happened, I think, two times, or maybe, it's 2 times since Lucha Underground's been a thing, and right. It's just, I love Lucha Underground so much. The storytelling, the ring work, the fact that they are able to tell as much of a story and as many stories in 1 hour, compared to how few and how little detail the stories in WWE are, that they have 3 hours plus another 2 every Thursday night. It's ridiculous to me.
Absolutely. It just shows the difference in initiative between Lucha Underground's product and WWE's product. And you really see that here in this hour, because they jam-pack so much in here, but it never feels like you're suffocating or lost. That I think is a real art when you're able to do that. But with that said, let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. I have no heats tonight. If I had a nitpick, and again, this is really searching, I gotta be honest, I'm getting kind of over Vampiro constantly lambasting Conan.
I love it!
See, I don't know, it's starting to wane on me a little bit, because
I'm man, I think it's great. It's like the friggin' hate boner that Steve Corino has for BJ Whitmer, except it's like that, except it's just with different people.
I'd see, the difference is, because I agree with you, I love the whole thing, Steve Corino, BJ Whitmer. The only thing is, though, is that BJ Whitmer, I think, has always given Steve Corino cause, because BJ Whitmer is a heel, and recently, as we've seen in ROH developments, he recruited Steve Corino's son to be the young boy. So that's like a personal jab. Here with Conan, if you're just referring to his past, I'm not really that familiar with his past. I didn't grow up with WCW.
Conan's such a scumbag. He's always been a scumbag.
And I believe it, but I'm still waiting for him to really show it, because even if you'd want to make the argument,
I think he showed it tonight, didn't he? He kind of showed his hand a little bit tonight.
I knew either you or somebody was going to get ready to say, well, what about tonight, given everything that happened, which we'll get to. And even then, I'd have to say, not really. Prince Puma is the client. You always want what's best for whatever infrastructure you got going on.
Then why did he send his friend after his client?
Well, it didn't pan out that way, and Conan...
Well, it did pan out that way unintentionally. That's what I'm saying, though. Oh, my God. I wish we had a time machine so that we could watch every episode of Lucha Underground between now and Ultima Lucha, because I have this hardcore feeling that this entire season is building up to Conan turning on Puma.
And here's the thing, I think that as well, but until that point, I just feel like, man, you're just belaboring how bad Conan is, and he hasn't shown it yet. Once he plunders the knife in Puma's back, by all means, go to town with that rage boner.
That's the thing, though. Why should Vampiro wait until the knife has penetrated the skin to talk about the fact that the knife is coming?
I just feel like, Conan, too, I mean, keep in mind, going back to the feud with Cage, he's had Puma's back in the past, and I just feel like all this fans are like, oh, we'd be so much better without Conan. I mean, would he? Because if it wasn't for Conan more recently, a little while back, he probably would have lost the championship to Cage and stuff like that. So to me, I mean, have your hatred, sure, but have cause for it. That's what I feel like the difference between this and Steve Corino and BJ Whitmer is. I
think there is cause for it, and you're just overlooking it.
See, I disagree, man. But for the time being, do you have any heats tonight or any nitpicks?
No, not at all.
All right, man. Then let's roll right on through to our Lucha Underground review. And we open with, backstage-esque segment. Dario Cueto is outside. The crew comes into the picture, and Cueto says, do you know he uses one word, and the crew doesn't know what it means, but he says, I pretty much gave you a gimme last week. A
layup.
A layup, thank you.
You know what a layup is, yeah, and he said about how a layup is something really easy to get, and it's practically handed to you, and it's basically a gimme.
Right. And I gave you that last week with the Trios Tag Team Champions. They were injured for one. They didn't like each other. They had been through a grueling match. So, all of these conditions set up, you were primed to take those titles, and you failed. You couldn't get the job done. So, now I'm going to strike fear into you so you can do better next time. And he pretty much takes them into the holding area of Matanza. But the real eyebrow raiser isn't the fact that, the crew's presumably been fed to this behemoth, whatever the hell it is. And for the record, I still love the mystery and allure that this character's being given every time he is shown. Just the growling effects and the shadow. Lucha Underground, I think, better than any promotion I've seen with stories like this, knows how to prey upon the human imagination and make it do its job for them. Because I'm just going nuts thinking about what Matanza actually looks like. But Cueto refers to Matanza as his brother, and I think that jarred a lot of people tonight. So We're getting to know just a little bit more, and I think the big question now is, how did these two get here? Cueto being the brother and everything, how did Matanza get behind that cage? Which Angelo Fong's given some answers, but also more immediately, the hell happened to the crew?
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, I think that Cueto made it quite clear that if you screw up again and kind of don't take advantage of an opportunity that I hand you on a silver platter again, you won't be apologizing to me. You'll be apologizing to him in there. Right. I think they came away pretty much scot-free tonight, and it was just like a scared straight kind of thing.
Yeah, let's hope they take it to heart, because, I mean, if I'd encounter that, I'd follow Dario Cueto to the letter, too, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. But after that, though, we did get our first match of the night. It was Fenix versus Killshot. We have Killshot in his first singles action. I really enjoyed this match. Honestly, I don't think there was a match on this card that I didn't enjoy, unless you count the one that lasted like 10 seconds.
Right, and even that, I think, was more for story-driven purposes, so, right. It had an end to it. As far as this opener, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Great back and forth. I mean, Fenix is such a fan favorite.
I'm becoming a fan of Killshot. I really like him.
Oh, definitely. I think he has a very unique look. He has a mystique about him that if Lucha Underground wanted to explore more, through their vignettes or whatever, I would not complain.
It's funny that you say he has a unique look, because to me, he looks really, really similar between like the body shape and like the mask and the attire. A lot of it, he looks really similar to King Cuerno to me.
I think, you can make that point. I think trying to visualize the two, I would say that maybe Cuerno's a bit bulkier, he's got a bit of a better build. But Killshot, I could definitely see the similarities.
Yeah.
But great opener between these two. Fenix, I think, has been, like I said, become a real fan favorite. He had a fan in me for life after that whole program with Mil Muertes. I mean, that casket match, Jesus.
Grave consequences.
Grave consequences. I mean, hell, I told everybody, on that particular episode when we reviewed it, that was my first Lucha Underground match to make my Match of the Year contender list. So, Phoenix played a big part in that. And it kind of makes you wonder that, because every time I see Phoenix in the ring, while we're on that subject, I think, well, I wonder, where's Katrina and where is Mil Muertes? So see, like, all these stories, like, you never forget.
Yeah, you really do need to wonder what happened to Katrina, because for the longest time, she was kind of flirting it up with Phoenix. I thought she was going to end up being a valet for him. And then when they got rid of Mil Muertes, she kind of disappeared along with him.
I think Phoenix is just a means to a greater end, my brother. Because I'll tell you, it's pretty weird, but I'm looking forward to when they both reemerge, whatever the circumstances may be for that. But keeping the focus on Phoenix, I would like to see him get back in the title picture. Hell, on that Grave Consequences episode of TWitWoW, I said after that program he should be the #1 contender. So, really glad to see him in matches like this where he can kind of continue to build himself up, and he does get the win here after his Fire Thunder driver. He hits it and he gets the win. But man, some great sequences here, exchanging kicks, exchanging back fists. There was one great point where they were on the top rope and doing some stuff. I mean, just they went all out. And Killshot, I think, had an excellent showing in singles, so he's definitely got a viable future there. And if he ever wants to do more stuff with the family, Big Rick and the Mac, that's always cool too. So Killshot's definitely got a comfortable place in Lucha Underground, I'd imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's solid. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing him work with more people than just Phoenix.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, really entertaining opener. I think set a great tone for the rest of the show. Crowd was into it, and I loved it.
Absolutely. Up next, did we establish who won that match, by the way?
Yes, Phoenix after the Fire Thunder driver gets the win. So
yeah. All right, so up next, we had just an amazing series of cinematic backstage segments. And can I just say, before we even talk about these, I love how many moving pieces there are in Lucha Underground right now.
Oh, absolutely, dude.
Because the first one that we get is Cueto confronting Drago. And Drago, like usual, he doesn't speak, but he just kind of make these like snarling dragon noises at Cueto with his tongue sticking out. And Cueto basically just tells him that, I think it's a shame that you haven't thanked me yet because you're getting this huge opportunity. And I believe that you can win it, and I believe that you can do it, and I think that by the end of the night you will thank me.
Yeah, it's very interesting how Cueto puts it, because then it plants the seed in your mind, wait a minute, is Cueto backing a horse in this thing?
Yeah.
Is he going to put some weight behind Drago somehow? And Drago's look, I love the coloring that he has going on and stuff.
What if Cueto knew about Conan's plan with Hernandez?
Honestly, I wouldn't put it past anything past Cueto at this point.
My God, I love how freaking in-depth this story is. Tonight, it was like an episode of Lost, man. They answered one question and raised a million more.
That's the beauty of Lucha Underground. They've got that down to a science at this point. And yeah, I just love the whole background of, Drago in this seedy bathroom, Cueto, like in his ear saying, oh, you'll thank me. And again, the colors, just everything. Lucha Underground, I think, really knows how to create an atmosphere, and I love it. And really, I just want to say as a quick aside, because you kind of mentioned it, I love how much they took advantage of the cinematic segments tonight and that whole style, because I feel like it's been a while since they've really fleshed it out like they did here. So, great stuff.
Yeah, this so good. But then that's the thing. We go to a commercial, and as soon as we get back, we don't have another match because they usually like to break the things up. Like, they usually don't have 2 matches in a row or 2 backstage segments in a row, but tonight they did. They had a backstage segment and then a commercial and then another backstage segment. This time it was pretty much the same sort of scenario, but with Prince Puma, where Cueto confronts him in the locker room, says that a weaker man worries about what's going on with other men, whereas a strong man is going to win at all costs. And then, he kind of drives that point home, but on his way out, Hernandez kind of swings by and confronts Cueto about putting him in this big 3-way match tonight with 2 guys that have a problem with him. And Cueto basically says, well, in order to sort of incentivize this match, how about if whoever wins becomes the #1 contender? And Hernandez is just like, I like the way you think.
Yeah, Hernandez was great here. I loved how, they made sure, like, Puma's hearing this whole thing. So he's like, oh crap, not only do I have this weighing on my conscience of potentially ending a man's livelihood tonight, I've got to look ahead to the future and just realize that one of these guys, all three of whom are very dangerous in their own right, will be gunning after my title afterwards. So I love too how Lucha Underground with their world title picture just has like layers upon layers. Like they don't wait to establish these contenders. Really, the only quote unquote kind of mini program was with Cage because he had multiple bouts with Puma. Other than that, I mean, Lucha Underground, they just want to keep throwing everything at Puma, and I really love that. So yeah, I was excited for this three-way.
Yeah. I mean, the three-way was just looking at the graphic that shows you who's in it, it instantly raises some attention to it because the guys that are in it are crazy.
Oh, absolutely, and I love it too because you had Cage who was in it, who, as we've already established, has an extensive history with Puma, in the ring. Cuerno just recently pinned Puma in the tournament qualifier, the Trios Championship qualifier, to go to the finals. And then you have Hernandez, who's kind of the big question mark because Conan brought him in, and they haven't gotten along since day one. So I love the different dynamics you have going on in one match that all relate back to the champion, Prince Puma. It's awesome stuff.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and just these backstage segments are second to none. Up next, though, we had our second match of the night, or what was supposed to be our second match of the night. A fatal four-way match between Famous B, Ricky Mandel, Vinny Massaro, and Argenis, also known as, no, TNA, it's not the BDC, it's the BAC. And ladies and gentlemen, that's not the blood alcohol content, it's the Broken Arm Clan.
Yes. Commentary points out that, these were all victims of Pentagon Jr., and it seems like the match was getting underway. I'm thinking here, okay, cool, nice way to get Argenis back in the picture, because I thought he was going to win this thing. But screw that, though, because Texano emerges and he lays out everybody. He completely clears the ring, throws everybody out, and he pretty much calls out, again, who we know right now as Daivari. Says, if you want to disrespect me, if you want to jump me, why don't you come in this temple and face me man to man, more or less. So we know now this is pretty big for Daivari, at my estimation, because it seems like his first program, his first feud coming into Lucha Underground is going to be against Texano, who just came off of being the longest reigning AAA champion. So that's crazy, man. That's quite a rub.
Yeah, I mean, just. I am genuinely looking forward to seeing what this turns into because we didn't see Daivari tonight. He didn't show up. So is he going to answer Texano's challenge, or are we going to end up getting like a backstage confrontation, or what?
Right. Yeah, we don't know what that's going to evolve into.
Yeah, again, though, like it goes back to what I was saying earlier about it being like an episode of Lost. They have this answer to this question of, well, what does Texano think about the guy that beat him up the other night? And his answer raises a whole bunch of other questions regarding how the situation is going to end up.
Exactly. Because you had Daivari, who, for 2 straight weeks was seen as like a member of the audience. That second week, he gets physical with Texano, and then to kind of answer for that, he's nowhere to be seen. So again, it creates this interesting dichotomy. Texano wants a piece of Daivari, but then Daivari's somewhere smirking and going, my terms, not yours. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So up next, we have another cinematic, probably my favorite of the night, actually. Outside the temple, Cueto is getting ready to enter the temple, and he sees this crazy guy he thinks is a fan outside the temple. And what does it say? Aztec Pride on his shirt.
Yeah.
And he's like, whoa, if you want to, what are you doing? And he's talking about how, like, I've been waiting out here for days. And he's just like, well, if you want a ticket, you could just, gone and bought one. And he's like, no, I don't want to see the show. I want to be a part of the show. I am Marty the Moth Martinez. And Cueto's just like, oh. And he's, like, really put off by it. And he's talking about how, like, there is Aztec blood running through my veins. I love this guy. I don't know if anybody knows, or I'm sure somebody does, but I don't know if everybody knows this or not. But this was actually Martin from Tough Enough. He was the guy that everyone thought was going to win, but he got injured and he couldn't complete the competition.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, dude. Like, Tough Enough is a freaking hot spot for 11 or 12 Tough Enough contestants, and they're all freaking awesome because I absolutely loved this guy as far as a character actor goes.
What's so interesting about him, and this isn't even the last time we're going to talk about him, as everybody will see just a little bit later, but for preliminary remarks, he's very intriguing to me because I feel like his look and kind of his presentation, how he interacted with Cueto and everything, is such a clash to everything we've come to know about Lucha Underground. Because, our characters primarily in Lucha Underground, they're these colorful, kind of characters. They have these immense, in-depth backstories. I mean, just look at Mil Muertes. I mean, I've said for a long time that I feel like he kind of epitomizes that look, that aesthetic of Lucha Underground. But then you have this guy, Marty the Moth Martinez is his last name.
Yep.
And yeah, he looks, I don't know if plain's the word, but he's kind of like a bigger dude, kind of looks out of shape, has a very basic t-shirt, Aztec Pride. He does look like a fan.
A fan, yeah.
It's no wonder Cueto just shoos him off. But there's something, I mean, commentary even noted, I think it was Vampiro said, it just feels like something mentally is off about the guy.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going to say. Like, he looks like this regular dude, but I think that we're going to get, like, an actual, like, a psychological, what's the word? I don't know, like a psychological disorder for a character in wrestling.
What I would love to see is I would want to know this guy's story, but through his own mouth, because that would really allow the insanity to come through. Like, he says he has Aztec blood in his veins. I want him to explain that. Like, I want him to just go on about where he comes from, what his line is, and everything, and just kind of marvel at his insanity, because that does seem to be where they're going. And again, it's such a clash from what we've come to know about Lucha Underground, but that's exactly why I think I'm going to love it, because Lucha Underground isn't going to be predefined by their characters or anything else. I think this is just a bit of chaos injected into the mix, and I'm very curious how this is all going to turn out.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm genuine. Like, this is, I think that aside from the Angela Fong stuff, I think this is probably the storyline right now that I'm the second most interested in. Behind
that's awesome.
And the Angela Fong stuff, because I think I absolutely loved this dude when he was on Tough Enough, and now he's in Lucha Underground with this like crazy, desperate to get on TV. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. Almost like an attention whore kind of character, and I just can't wait to see what he can do, because I want to see a match, even if it's like a 3-on-1 match with the three guys whose matching interrupted tonight, which was next.
Yeah, really. And that match was great.
By the way, for those of you, because I know that was such a smooth transition, Hernandez versus Cage versus King Cuerno is the match we're referring to now.
Yes.
The three-way number one contenders match.
Yes. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved, how Cuerno and Cage were working over Hernandez, at the start, but then it broke down between them because, as Cueto said, if they all have a singular kind of ambition, there can only be one number one contender, then obviously they're going to go into business for themselves. The match does, kind of break down. Some great power moves, particularly from Hernandez. I think they really wanted to show him off, seeing as how this is his first kind of singles outing. And apparently the dude's like 40, and he still does great stuff and moves around quite wonderfully. So that was really awesome to see. And then I might as well talk about it, because, there were a lot of power moves exchanged between everybody. Cuerno was kind of an opportunist because, he's not as big as a Cage or Hernandez, but he can hold his own. But then Marty the Moth Martinez does emerge. And
all he does is he stands there and he yells, "Marty the Moth is here!"
And they all take turns beating the crap out of him.
Yeah, dude, King Cuerno instantly just does that shotgun drop kick that Finn Balor does to set people up for the coup de grace. And Marty sold it like a champ, but then he popped right back up and he was like, "Come on! You're supposed to let me get offense in too!" But yeah, he gets thrown over the top rope and just kind of walks away. But that was just such a great moment, and such a random moment, and the crazy thing is that actually led to the finish.
It did. One quick thing, though, before we get to the finish that I wanted to say about Marty the Moth, both within the segment and then the preceding segment that we were talking about before the transition. I was impressed by how quick he recovered and just kind of had that look on his face like, oh, come on. Like, I feel like when he gets in the ring, he's just going to eat all this punishment and just enjoy it and then just exclaim at certain points like, well, when's it going to be my turn? And stuff like that. Like, he's just going to be that kind of character, and there's just something about that I'm eager for.
Yeah.
And secondly, I could see Dario Cueto manipulating this young man, because if he's so eager to get in, it would be right up Dario Cueto's alley to use that for his own purposes. Like, okay.
Oh, dude, you're so right.
Yeah, he'll be like, oh, I'll let you in the temple if you can take out Sexy Star or something like that.
Yep.
You know, he is so going to prey upon this.
You want a shot in my temple? You've got a one-on-one match tonight with Johnny Mundo.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he is going to prey upon this man's enthusiasm, and he's going to use it as a means to his own ends.
But then he's going to be like, and what I want you to do in this match, I don't care if you win or lose, you need to take Johnny Mundo out.
I mean, it might as well, because he still hasn't gotten his freaking title. I'm sorry. But the finish, you have Cage taken out, and it comes down to Cuerno and Hernandez. Oddly enough, Ashton had picked Hernandez to go over in this thing. I picked Cuerno because he most recently pinned Puma, and Hernandez does pin Cuerno after kind of like a modified Dominator. So,
hey, man, all I'm saying is that I'm starting to kind of align a little bit thinking-wise with Lucha Underground, because normally this would be a very unpredictable route for them to go, but I saw it coming a mile away, because I think this is something that I have that kind of makes sense of our Heat of the Night segment. I kind of see eye to eye with Vampiro. I smell a snake in the grass when it comes to Conan, and I think that Conan is going to end up screwing Prince Puma pretty hard.
Well, I definitely think, even though I had picked Cuerno personally, I only did it because of events of recency. You know, I feel like ultimately this was the better story to go with. It's the more pertinent one. It's the more overlapping one, where Conan is kind of at the epicenter. So I think Hernandez being number one contender, very smart. And now the thing is, since Conan has affiliations with both guys, he's going to have to back a
pick
horse.
a side.
Take a claim. Exactly. So where's he going to go? Is he going to go
friend or client?
Exactly. And here's the thing, though. If you're Conan and you believe in that ruthlessness and stuff like that, as we saw, you know, in the main event, which we'll get to, he might go with Hernandez because he feels like, you know, I came up with this guy. I was a part of LAX with this guy, and that group took people out. They did not give a damn. And that's what I've been trying to teach Puma, but Puma's so resistant. Why don't I go with the horse that already knows it? So, very interesting dynamics here. Anything else you want to say about Hernandez and number one contender before we move on?
No. We'll talk more about that at the main event.
Okay, so what was next?
Up next was our sit-down interview segment, Vampiro talking to Angelico, Ivelisse, and Son of Havoc. Really, to kind of sum this up as succinctly as I can, all three of them seem to think that they're the leader. Ivelisse, because she was shouting orders and they were doing what she said. Son of Havoc, because he single-handedly beat, who was it that he... The
Drago, Aerostar, and Fenix team to advance him to the finals.
Yeah, and then Angelico because of his epic dive, or crossbody, and they had a little bit of an argument about the crossbody too. But then I think that the most pertinent thing here is that Angelico does say that winning the titles was a career highlight, but nothing has really gotten better outside of the ring.
And I like that. You know, they should continue to be, despite the odds that they overcame to get to this point, they should still be a work in progress because their personalities are just so vastly different. And yeah, that was my favorite part of the whole thing, was the whole debate about the crossbody. Your death leap. It was a crossbody, the most basic high-flying maneuver. God, Ivelisse is so good.
Yeah.
And
then he was like, a crossbody? It was the crossbody.
And then Son of Havoc pipes up, I thought it was pretty cool. You know, it's just so good.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, yeah, enjoyed this, and nothing more to say than that. Can't wait to see their defenses in the future.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, well, now we have our main event, Lucha Underground Championship match, a.k.a. career versus title, Drago versus Prince Puma. And, we know that if Drago loses, he's banned from the temple. Great match, as usual. Lots of respect between these guys, too, because at the very beginning there was a show of respect, and Drago actually accepted it, which was sort of surprising because he's got his career on the line, and normally you would think that he kind of has to get into that state of mind where it's like, screw this guy, he's trying to end my career. But no, there was definite respect between the two. Great match. And John, I'm going to let you talk about whatever you want to right up until the big interference.
Okay. First off, I really just loved the atmosphere that this match created, the story it told, because Drago's career being on the line hung over both of these competitors. Drago, because obviously he didn't want to lose his livelihood. Prince Puma, because, you know, as a babyface, he didn't want to take it. Conan also kind of feels that, like, say, hey, you know what you got to do. You know what you got to do. You got to stay on him. It's his career. You know, it's not going to be easy to beat him. These guys go hard, really seem to have each other well scouted. Drago at one point does a really cool submission where it's like he's got the legs locked around the head and he's got like an arm trap and he's just trying to choke Puma out, but Puma gets a foot on the rope, so that was a great move. There was a spiked Rana, I believe, from Drago as well, so Drago brought it. Like, he had a lot of firepower in this thing, and yeah, I just really love the back and forth of these two guys. So now I'll give you back the reins to talk about, you know, the really big developments here.
Yeah. So we had a ref bump in this match, and it was a really well done ref bump where it genuinely looked like it could have been an accident. I think it was Drago I think Puma got Drago up at a fireman's carry and spun him, and he ended up getting his feet to kick the ref in the head. So that put the ref out and the thing is, he wasn't out forever. He was out for maybe like a minute, and that's about it. But yeah, Hernandez shows up. And everyone's thinking, oh, well, Hernandez is going to help Puma to retain the title. But no, he goes right after Puma, who ducks. And it just so happens that Drago was behind him, so Hernandez ended up hitting Drago.
And you know what I think, too, you know, the more I think about it, because I'm not denying, here's the thing, I'm not denying that Conan isn't a scumbag. I do think he is. I'm just saying we gotta wait for him to reveal his hand. You know, when you talk about, you know, was Conan in on this? Maybe he didn't want to have that conflict of interest down the road. Maybe he said, well, if Drago's champion, then I could just put all my weight behind Hernandez and keep solidarity within my whole group so I could keep both him and Puma rather than lose one. So keep two clients instead of losing one. But obviously that plan backfired, as you noted, Ashton.
Right.
And it should be noted, too, Drago had Puma beat before this interference because he hits a Canadian destroyer.
Yes, that's the thing. He had the match won.
Yeah, he had Puma dead to rights, and he really should be the Lucha Underground champion right now, which I love that, because as strong as Puma is, and he's beaten some quality opponents during his reign, Drago, he had it in him to beat Puma, and everybody knows it. So I feel like that's very important to keep in mind, because if it wasn't for Hernandez, well, really, if it wasn't for the accidental ref bump for one, but then certainly if it wasn't for Hernandez, because you have to imagine maybe Drago would have stayed on Puma anyway, Drago would be the Lucha Underground champion. But then, you know, after Hernandez takes Drago out, Puma is really conflicted. He's like, no, I don't want to win this way. No. And then Conan's just like, hey, this is an opportunity. It presented itself. You take advantage of it. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You got to kill the kindness in your heart. You got to win. And Puma does this variation of a pile driver and looks beautiful and devastating. And that is how he beats Drago. And he just immediately, it eats away at him, just consumes him immediately when the hand hits the mat for 3 and the match is over. It just seems so remorseful. Conan's happy because he keeps his meal ticket, as Vampiro, you know, noted. And Puma immediately helps Drago up. Now, what's interesting here, I expected Drago to, like, shove away Puma or take a shot at Conan maybe on the way out. No, Drago keeping it totally babyface. Accepts the hand raise, accepts the embrace of Puma. Crowd starts a big thank you Drago chant. So Drago, I don't know what the rest of the story is going to be, because then we have another segment to talk about after this. But he may have just become like the babyface now because of all this sympathy, and he was certainly one of the bigger ones going into this. So very interesting developments for Drago.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is one of those moments where I think that Drago, and here's my thing, John. Drago is actually 39 years old. So if he doesn't show back up in Lucha Underground, I will not be extremely surprised. Kind of the same way with Chavo Guerrero. Like, I know he'll always kind of be welcome back with Chavo, but I doubt he will be. And if he is, cool, I won't be surprised. But on the same note, if he isn't, I also won't be surprised by that. And it's kind of the same thing with Drago. If he never comes back, it'll be a shame, but I won't be super surprised.
Right.
I do think that just based on sort of the final segment that we had, which we will get to, we will probably see him back because he literally said, we'll meet again. But I enjoyed this match, and if this is Drago's last match in Lucha Underground, it's a great way for him to go out.
Oh, yeah, the match had a great story, great atmosphere, in ring, it was so on point. So if this would be his last match, just covering all bases, way to go out on top, Drago, seriously. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So do we want to get to that final segment?
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, I mean, Drago meets Dario Cueto outside, and he just kind of looks at him, really eyes him up, and he says, "We will meet again." And then, the tongue comes out. And again, me and Ashton talked about this on a prior episode of Lucha Underground TWitWoW. Love that the more non-speaking characters, the ones really not known for cutting promos or whatever, when they speak for the first time, it always seems so significant. And I love that those were, Drago's imparting words and probably his first words. And then, he goes off, but you see this burst of flame. So it's like, oh man, he really is a dragon. Like, that was the reaction of people watching it with me. It seemed like, oh man, he really is a dragon. That's so cool. And yeah. And here's the thing too. Even if this would be Drago's final appearance, which again, like you, I doubt because of those words, we will meet again. It just keeps building, I think, to the ultimate story. Dario Cueto's going to pay one day. Like, he keeps pushing the envelope, man, and pushing back on these people. There is going to come a time where Dario Cueto is going to have nowhere left to run, and it is going to be beautiful. I love the type of heel he is coming off as. He is such a scumbag that when he gets his, it's going to be glorious. And I'm telling you, each week, I think he just goes further and further into that abyss with no way out. And I'm just curious when the bell is going to toll, so to speak, for Dario Cueto, because, man, what a scumbag.
Yeah, I mean, if karma is a thing in the Lucha Underground universe, then Dario Cueto has got it coming hard.
Oh, yeah, and that's just it, dude. Like, I believe it is a thing. We've talked about the allusions made to gods. I mean, hell, who's to say that even Matanza won't rip Cueto apart if he's ever finally unleashed? Like, do you think he has any affection for his brother being in that cage?
Yeah.
Like, he's gonna be beaten down by somebody, something, a group of people, just something at some point in time. And it's gonna be great television because they've done, again, such an amazing job of making you want to see Cueto. I marked when Mundo punched him in the face that one time for the briefcase full of money, but that was one punch. I'm thinking Cueto has a lot more coming to him in the near future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's gonna, It's like Adam Sandler's character in, well, I guess his name would have been Billy Madison, said, I got a feeling that you and your whole family are going to go down someday.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, my brother.
I mean, let's face it, Dario Cueto, if he doesn't shape up a little bit, he's got some dark days ahead of him.
He is so screwed. Next segment, you have nothing else you want to say, right, about this segment?
Correct.
All right, next segment for us, high spots and low shots. I mean, hell, I'm going to be very straightforward with my low shot, Drago. Yeah. He tried to win it all, but he ended up losing it all. I mean, a very game outing with Prince Puma, but he did come up short thanks to Hernandez. Jerkwad. And so now Drago, for the time being, can no longer compete in Lucha Underground, but he has made a vow to us that we will see him again. So we'll see what happens down the road. But for now, definitely my low shot.
My low shot's going to be King Cuerno because, like you said, he does have a relatively recent pinfall victory over the champion, and it didn't matter tonight because he actually ate the pin from Hernandez.
I like that. Very straightforward. Makes a lot of sense. You know what? My high spot, despite everything I got done saying, Dario Cueto is going to be my high spot.
Yes.
This guy manipulates all the pieces on the board, and despite the fact that I think something's going to be coming to him,
it's not here yet.
It's not here yet, and he's still in control of everything. Struck fear in the hearts tonight of the crew, got Drago out of his hair, avoided a potential beatdown from Hernandez, has a new tension to play with Hernandez, Puma, and Conan. I'm telling you, man, Cueto, even when things go wrong, they still somehow, for that man, go absolutely right. So he is my high spot tonight.
Can I just say, I do have an honorary low shot, because I literally thought of it while you were talking about Cueto, but it's a little late. But
oh, well, absolutely, dude. Who's your honorary low shot?
Prince Puma.
Okay.
For two reasons. First of all, there is a very good chance that he just got Hernandez sent in his direction as like a hit almost from his freaking manager, Conan.
Right.
Second of all, actually, there are three reasons now I think about it. Second of all, Hernandez is the number one contender, so that is his next opponent, whether it's in or out of the ring.
Right.
And third of all, he retired a guy that he had a lot of respect for, and it's brutal. And he didn't even want to win, it seemed like.
He didn't want to win, and his win was dirty.
That was the most bittersweet victory I think that Prince Puma has ever tasted.
Yeah. Definitely, because there was a precedent established in the past, with other matches against well-established heels that you wouldn't even care how they went down. You just want to see them go down, where Puma did not want Hernandez's help. Now, really, Hernandez wasn't looking to give it, but that doesn't change the fact that Hernandez has tainted yet another Prince Puma match.
Yeah.
So, yeah, completely understand where you're coming from. But since I gave my high spot to Cueto, though, we can keep the focus on you. Who is your high spot?
My high spot, it's pretty simple, really. Marty the Moth Martinez.
Dude, can I just say I love how much you love this guy already.
He's so good. I really do, though. I really do like this guy a lot. I think he's going to be one of the most entertaining things in Lucha Underground going forward.
I don't know. Can I ask you something real quick while we're on the subject of Marty the Moth for your high spot?
Sure, yeah.
Do you think he's a heel or a face? How do you think he's going to play out with this crowd? Because I can't tell.
I think he's gonna be kind of like that Eddie Guerrero face that gets cheered for doing heelish things.
Fair enough. I'll take it. A guy seems so freaking off his rocker. I don't even know what to expect from him. Wait, Mr. Cueto, wait! It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just everybody step back.
Yeah, to me he's got like that. Like he's a heel, but you cheer for him ironically.
Right.
Kind of like the way you and I are with David Otunga.
I know, right?
That's kind of how I feel he's gonna be.
You know what, dude? If that's the case, I'm all for it. So we get one person again who
getting that Curtis Axel heat.
Yeah, and again, I have to credit Lucha Underground here, because even if you have, again, and we all said it's probably going to be here again, Drago at 39, on his way out, you bring in talents like Daivari, who is going to be in a program with Texano. That's a great introduction. And now Marty the Moth I'm sorry, the Moth. I can't do it with a straight face.
It's his spirit animal.
It's his spirit animal. Just, an introduction.
What's really hilarious is there are actually people out there that don't even think moths are animals because they don't think bugs are animals.
Wow, that's sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, two kind of things going on here, and Marty the Moth is definitely the more intriguing of the two, without question. Yeah. But I love how Lucha Underground, like, even their introductions of people, it's just so epic. That's one of the things I actually.
And that's the crazy thing too, is like we've had now 2 out of the last 3 weeks, if you include this week as last, quote unquote, have had debuts on them.
Yeah, man.
And they weren't built up. There wasn't this big deal like, oh, this thing's going to happen and you're going to be mind equals blown. No, it wasn't this big deal. They just did it and played it into the show and made it seem like it wasn't supposed to happen. And it's just so good. I love Lucha Underground so much. Why can't, like I said earlier, why can't we get a time machine and watch every episode from now to August 4th and just binge watch it?
Damn you, limitations!
Yeah.
But, that was one of my favorite parts of the early episodes of Lucha Underground, was just all this influx of talent. People who, because Matt Striker would always say it's a temple, anybody can come in and participate. And now we're kind of getting back to that vibe with, Daivari and his hands dirty. And now Marty the Moth, who, ironically, the policy kind of worked against him, because Cueto's like, you in my temple? Please. And Marty the Moth, nobody puts the moth in the corner. So, yeah. Gonna be crazy. But with that said, Ashton, do you have any other remarks you want to make about tonight's episode?
No.
Yeah, you know what? Neither do I. It was excellent. If you guys aren't watching this, which if you listen to our Lucha Underground TWitWows, obviously you are, but to those who may be checking it out and you haven't, do yourself a service and check this out. Best wrestling product, I think, out there. Just so freaking good. All right.
Well, let's specify best North American.
Yes.
Because I don't want to go stomping on New Japan fans' toes.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want that heat. I don't want those problems. But yeah, guys, with that said, this has been Lucha Underground. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. What did you think of tonight's episode of Lucha Underground? What do you think of Marty the Moth Martinez? That's what I really want to know about, because Ashton loves this guy, and I'm digging it. I just still haven't put all my feelings together. So what do you think?
John doesn't even know what to think yet.
Yeah, I don't even know right now. That's how crazy it is.
He literally can't even, you guys.
Exactly. So, what do you think about the imminent collision of Prince Puma and Hernandez? Shift the conversation over to Puitov, an amazing pro wrestling group. I promise, some of the most passionate wrestlers you'll ever meet. Or, if you just want to converse with yours truly and my cohort and commentary, we have our TWitWoW subreddit. So just be sure to get all your engagement however you can. And we will see you again for our NXT review, where the NXT Tag Team Champions Wesley Blake and Buddy Murphy are set to lock it up with Enzo Amore and Big Cass. Will Blake and Murphy continue to plant the seeds for Carmella to descend? Or are Enzo and Cass going to snuff out the champions and expose them to be nothing more than SAWFT soft? Until then, tune in and peace out.